Hi everyone. Well, I don't know about you, but my day just seemed to have disappeared out from underneath me. So I had grand intentions of doing this live this afternoon, and then all of a sudden here we are, 6:30 at night. So for those of you who are in the group in Australia, you would probably know, particularly if you are on the East Coast, that it's Origin Wednesday. For some people, they wonder what this fuss is all about, given that it's a dead rubber of sorts, because Queensland has already won the Shield. But for those who follow rugby league and particularly Origin will know that when there's plenty at stake, regardless of where things are going in terms of Origin. So I've actually snuck out into my front yard because there's so much going on in my household in preparations for Origin. Everyone's a little bit excited. Great question that came through on the Q&A through a private message that I received this week about emotions. It's really actually quite apt that we're talking about this while Origin is in preparation, because you actually see the emotion on players' faces as they're getting ready to go out and to compete, and you certainly get the sense of the atmosphere, whether you're fortunate enough to be there at the game or whether you're cheering on at home. So it leads itself to a really great question that can resonate for most of us, which is about how do you manage yourself when your emotions are high? So the first thing to think about is that as humans, there's really only three elements of us. We're quite simple, even though we do tend to make life a little bit complicated for ourselves at times. So there's the things that we do, there's the way that we think, and there's the way that we feel. So what we do, what we think, what we feel. We know those three things relate to each other, so something will happen in a situation, we'll generate some commentary in our heads about it, we'll think about it, then we'll have an emotional response to it, and then those emotions then drive our behaviours. So our emotions are really, really important for us to understand how they operate, because we know that most of our behaviour is influenced by how we feel. So a specific question then is, how do we manage those moments, particularly when it's a high pressure moment? So an Origin game would be a good example of that. So the first thing that I would suggest that you do is understand how important our emotions are in terms of driving our behaviour. That's the first thing that, understanding it. If you understand it, then you can do something about it. The second thing is mindfulness, being aware of the emotions that you are feeling. Maybe you can put a name to the emotion, you know what that feeling is. So knowing what the emotion is, and then there's a range of strategies that you can do. So I just want to focus on one for this evening, and maybe if there's more interest in it, we can look at other strategies for managing ourselves with the emotions that we experience as well. So one of the things I'd have you think about is, in addition to the fact that we as humans only have three things, that what we do, what we think, and how we feel, we only live in three passages of time: the past, the present, and the future. So those of you who've been in workshops with me before, it's very unusual to get through a workshop without me talking about our time orientation. But basically, whether we are thinking about the past, the present, and the future. Now, physically, it's pretty easy, because we can only ever be in one place, and that is right here in the present. So unless you have some clever little time machine, I always wanted to get into the TARDIS when I was a young child, although I did used to hide behind the couch when the Daleks used to come out. So they still scare me now. So physically, you can only ever be in the moment, but mentally, you're a time traveller. Mentally, we can take ourselves through to what we're going to be doing tomorrow. There you are. You can think about the day that you've had, and you think back through different things that you did today, or you can think about what you're doing right now as you're watching this video, whether you're watching it now on the live or whether you're watching it on replay. So they're your three dimensions of time: past, present, and future. And the skill that elite performers are able to develop and need to develop is the ability to have their head in the right place at the right time. So having your head in the right place at the right time. There are times when it serves us well to be thinking ahead into the future, planning, goal setting, anticipating something that's going to happen. There are times when it benefits us to be able to think back, reflect, remember what we've learnt. And then there is the moment that we're in right now. And so sometimes you actually need to do a combination of those, but we definitely know that performance predominantly happens in the moment. What has this got to do with emotions? Well, one of the things that you can do to help regulate your emotions, so to help you to feel that you've got more control over what's happening for you, is you can take a few breaths. So that physical change is a really helpful thing for you to do. But the other thing that you can do is you can focus on those time orientations. What's my job right now? So right now in this moment, what's my job? And when you think through what you're meant to do in that given moment, whatever it is, so let's take a different example. Let's say you're giving a presentation, and let's say you're like most people, you get a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious about getting up to present. So you're standing, off to the side, maybe you're about to be introduced to give the talk. You can take yourself in a headspace that can be really unhelpful. You can skip too far ahead, you can make things up, you can think about the last time that you did something and maybe it went well for you or maybe it didn't. But really what you want to be thinking about is, what am I doing right now? You want to take a breath and you want to trust yourself that in this moment you'll be okay. Now you might want to think, I sometimes, if I'm presenting, I like to think, just in my head, have the first couple of sentences that I might say in my mind, and then I start talking and then it tends to flow from there. So managing yourself in high intensity moments is really about understanding how important our emotions are, not hiding from them, but understanding that they're important, being mindful and noticing what it is that we're feeling in any given moment, taking a breath, and then moving our focus to what's going to help me most right now. What's my job right now? What can I be doing right now? And sometimes that is a little way to kind of stop the wheels from spinning so much and to steady ourselves down a bit. So I hope that gives you something to think about. It's just a quick tip. Plenty of other things that we could talk about. So if you're still interested to find out more about emotions and you've got a specific question, just let me know and I'll look forward to answering your question perhaps in another live soon. Have a great night, everyone, and go the Queenslanders.